strongly in support of early education and home visitation. $1.5 billion was put in the Affordable Care Act for this maternal, infant, early child home visitation program. $1.5 billion over 5 years. We're in the middle of that now, and there are various programs in the different states. It's sort of referenced as McVie or Meachif, you may have heard speak of that. So that's underway, and in the President's most recent budget request, he was suggesting $15 billion over a 10-year period for home visiting programs that meet this evidence-based bar. So it's very exciting. Now, we also know that we've got complete, stagnation on Capitol Hill. We've got an economy that still isn't really recovering. And while I think all of us here understand that, prevention is a lot less expensive than remediation, that doesn't always still play. Here in Missouri, as Ann said, the budget for parents as teachers, which had been, I think, up to about $34 million, was cut back to 12. It's now at 15. It's $15 million for this year. It looks like it's going to be flat funded at $15 million going forward. There was a hint that it might get raised this year. It unfortunately didn't happen. But one of the things we are going to work on is trying to gradually build that back up, because it makes so much sense. If you can help kids in the earliest stages, you do save money down the road in terms of remediation.
And I think it's important to note that last year also there was an additional $14 million cut out of early childhood funding. About 2/3 of that was out of DESE.
Right.
So it isn't just parents as teachers that was cut. It was early childhood.
Right, and there are
across
some,
the board.
The budget that's now being conferenced in Jefferson City has some continuing issues where the preschool program got cut and the accreditation facilitation got cut. So there's still a lot going on there.
We're actually anticipating in our entire budget about $500,000 cut. Right now, that's not targeted from early childhood, but at the end of the day, when you look at how that pans out, I'm almost sure it's going to hit some.
Yeah. Right, and the foundation formula still isn't fully
It's
funded.
still not fully funded.
So we're, while on the one hand, what I have seen in Jefferson City is that there is strong support for parents as teachers and for early education. That's counterbalanced by the fact that there's not always the money there, and you still have these cuts. What I hope we can do here in Missouri and in the other states is really provide our legislative leadership with stories from families that have benefited from parents as teachers. We had an advocacy day this year where we actually went in with the rest of the child advocacy community to really, again, promote better support for children and early childhood education. But it's important for us to tell our stories to our representatives and senators so that they understand, so that they can feel and see the benefits. There's also, obviously, data we can provide too in terms of the return on investment, which has been extremely significant with the business community because you can show savings. In fact, there's a fair amount of corporate support for early childhood education. But speak with your elected members here in the Missouri legislature, speak with our elected members in Congress, and let them know what this means to you, to the school district, to your families, because that's the best.
Yeah, I think if it's facts and figures, we all agree on that as adults. I think it becomes harder and harder to say no when you see kids' faces and you can actually attach it to it. So I really like that idea.
Yep.
But it's almost like if you guys have a day where you go to down to Jeff City, bring the kids with, if you can, because if they just see adults, it's easier for them to say no to an adult.
Right.
It's really harder for them to see the kids that are actually getting these services and say, well, no, I'm not giving those kids money.
Yeah, and next year will be actually the 30th anniversary of the legislation that really kicked off parents as teachers in Missouri with the so we're hoping to have an advocacy day next year during the session that really focuses on that kind of.
When you do that, one of the things that our local cooperating school district has started is asking superintendent representation every month somewhere with the legislator. I actually went this week. What they do though is they give us topics to speak about.
Okay.
This week we talked about the tax credit bill and we talked about the teacher tenure bill. But they've lumped so much into the teacher tenure bill that that's impacting the funding as well. But if we know when you're going, if you share that with us, then CSD will, that's Cooperative School District, will make sure that when we go and we speak to our representatives, that we speak with that focus.
Absolutely. No, thank you.
And Don Sendy
great.
actually is, he's on our board, and
Good.
he is the chairman of the Missouri Task Force
Good, that'll
for
work.
parents and teachers. So yeah, we like him. He's a good guy.